We're here today with Carmen Flores Tanis, and she's going to teach us how to make this
flower pot garden panel.
I just love this. It's so great.
Thank you.
Carmen, tell us how you got those great flowers in the flower pots.
Well, the first thing I did, because I needed to do a resist.
Okay.
So what I used is the Sizzix Eclipse 2. It's an electronic die cutter.
Which we're going to have a little tutorial on our website to watch how to use it.
Yes, and what's so great about it is that it's connected to their online e-store.
Okay.
So you can actually download their artwork. And so what I did was I downloaded the artwork to my computer, and I used the flower lace edge.
Okay.
It looks like that. I made it a little bit bigger, and I knew I wanted to have some pots, so I just made some rectangles, and this is my artwork.
Okay.
Once it was in my computer, I printed it out. It's not really printed, actually cut it using
cut
the
it out.
Sizzix.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like a printer, except instead of using ink, it uses a little cutting blade. And what it cut was I used this etchall mask. It comes, there's two parts that come to the etchall stenciling kit. One is a transfer sheet, and I'm going to show you in a little bit how to use that. And the other part is a vinyl. This is actually
and that goes right through the machine, no problem.
You feed it through, and it'll cut it. And then this piece, you can't see it, but it's actually cut on there.
Oh, yeah. It's hard to see, but they're there somewhere.
Yeah, and so the next step is removing the parts that I want to etch.
Okay.
So anything that is not protected on the glass is going to be etched away with the etching cream.
Okay, perfect.
So you peel that away, and eventually you end up with this.
Wow, that's really cool. It's like one whole stop shop being done.
Yeah.
I love it.
So the next step I would do is that transfer sheet that I had before. This is actually another sticky sheet.
Oh, it's not even that sticky
No,
either.
it's just got a little bit of tack to it.
Carmen, is that reusable?
In small pieces. When you're working with a big piece like that, it tends to crinkle up and stick to itself. But to give you an idea how it works, is I would take a little piece like this, I would cut it.
But for this, you'd put the whole
I would do the whole sheet, and you stick it down. But just to show, this is how it works. Say I only did the flower, but of course we'd be doing the whole thing. You rub it down, and then you peel it off.
Oh, that has an aha moment there. That's really cool.
And then you would stick this onto the glass. So that's what I did in this case. I did one entire sheet.
Okay.
And this is the transfer sheet. And now,
let me hold the glass down so
thank you
can.
So I peel it away, and I'm holding it flat to the glass.
Oh, I see that.
And I peel it straight up like this.
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
Now it's all stuck on there.
Wow.
So I could kind of use big pieces like that to answer your question.
Okay.
So now I've got this. The next step is I want to add a little texture to the back.
Okay, and we'll show that next.
Great. So the next step is, once the vinyl design is attached to the glass, I'm going to take this rubber stamp. This is actually a Judi Kins stamp, and a solvent ink, and I'm just going to get a nice heavy coat on here, and I'm going to stamp all over the background. So
we're just holding this up so you can see it at home without the reflection. Normally you could do this flat on the table.
So you go around and you stamp all over.
So you're just going right over the pots and everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Now the ink is going to act as a resist and prevent the etching cream from etching into the glass.
Okay.
I don't want the flower pots to be protected at all. So I'm just going to take a little paper towel, and I can use a little bit of glass cleaner, and just take that out of the areas that I do want to etch, which are all the flower shapes.
Okay, perfect.
I want this to be absolutely dry, so I would take a heat embossing tool, run it over here for just a couple seconds, make sure it's nice and dry.
Now, if you don't have a heat embossing tool, how long would it take to dry, do you think?
Oh, I'd leave it a couple hours, just to make sure it's completely dry.
So now we're ready for the etching cream?
Almost. One more step is because I want to protect the background from etching, from any cream that might spill a little bit. So I just take a nice big piece of clear contact paper, which is that sticky shelf vinyl.
Great idea.
Stick it on there, and that protects the back. Then I take my etchall etching cream, and I put a nice thick coat all over. I want about as thick as peanut butter.
Okay. Yum yum. Don't lick this stuff down.
Let it set for about 10 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
Normally you let it sit about 15 minutes, but the ink is actually going to start disintegrating after about 12.
Okay.
So that's why 10 to 12 minutes is perfect, optimal time.
And we do have a how-to video on our website, so you can learn how to use the etching cream yourself.
Once it's been sitting for about 10 to 12 minutes, wipe up the excess. The etching cream is reusable.
Yeah, you want to reuse that.
So you can actually scrape it up, put it back in the jar.
Actually, don't use a spatula at home, which works really, like my kitchen spatula. Okay, you only want to dedicate it to your crafts, but the kitchen spatula really helps too, because it scrapes it and gets it in the jar better.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. You just want to be a little bit gentle, because that ink, you don't want to disturb that. Just a little gentle. After everything's back in the jar, rinse it under water just to clean everything off. And here's a tip: take a razor blade, and the water will actually help you remove the vinyl.
Scratch
it won't
the
scratch.
etch.
So just be real. Just take it at an angle.
Gotcha.
And the ink will automatically just wash off.
Oh, cool.
So at this point, you can peel the vinyl off the back, and then you've got this. So your design is nice and etched in there, and we're ready for coloring. Great. Well, then now that the glass is etched and it's got a little bit of tooth to it, you can draw on it. So I'm going to draw a little pink flower.
Okay, this is like, I'm sorry, I have to do this with you.
Oh yeah, this is
I cannot even believe this when you were showing this earlier.
And it will actually,
look at that.
And if you try drawing on the areas that aren't etched, nothing happens.
Yeah, it won't
But
stick.
wherever it is.
So if I want to cross hatch, I can come back across here. So now you can do all your little color pencil techniques.
And one thing I forgot to show you, there's actually a little bit of texture in the background where the stamped images were.
Oh yeah, I can see that. It's hard for you to see at home. Yeah, these Lone Cornell color pencils are great. They're so fun to use. Oh my god. Okay, I'm sorry. We got to keep going with the project.
And while you have your pencils out, I took some Low Cornell little woodsies heart shapes, and I
really
just colored them. And I also had a little butterfly. I colored that out too, and we'll set them aside for now.
I love color pencils. I'm going to get my color pencils back out.
Oh yeah.
Now Carmen's going to show us how she got this great edging on the frame.
And it's using actually the same stamp that we used on the background.
Oh, that's great.
So this is the Judi Kins stamp, and I'm just using a little green ink.
Now what kind of ink is it?
This is a pigment ink.
Okay.
And I would, before it dries, I would just apply a little of the Judi Kins embossing powder.
Oh, this
Make
is the
sure
pretty
it sticks.
glitter
Be real generous.
We do have a tutorial on how to use how to emboss on our site.
Tap that down a little bit.
And we're going to go emboss it, and we'll be right back. Now that we have the embossing all done, and also do not forget to emboss the back of your frame as well.
That's a nice little secret.
It is. It looks so great. Now, can you go ahead and show us how to do the final assembly?
Sure. This is a floating frame which comes with 2 pieces of glass. So I put the first one back in, and I forgot to mention that that second piece of glass you can actually etch too. And I did the same technique with the stamping, but this was just stamping.
Oh yeah,
and the etching cream.
It's so light and pretty.
And it just adds a little bit of interest to the background. And that fits right in.
I'm just gonna slide this over.
Perfect.
There we go.
So it fits in like that. And once the glass is in there, I took a little...
Could you put your little rod in so it doesn't fall out?
Yes, thank you.
There we go. And now...
I took the little wood shapes that we colored before. I took a little 527 glue, just attached them on there. Attached that little butterfly, And there you go.
This is a great piece of art to have in your house, and it's really fun and cheerful for the spring. Thanks a lot, Carmen, for joining us today.
Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed When Creativity Knocks,
All-Star Designers Spring Series.
Like us on Facebook, pin us on Pinterest, and follow us on Twitter.
And don't forget, sign up on our website to receive our weekly newsletter, and you're eligible to win one of the weekly prize boxes full of products from all of our series sponsors.